this irresponsibility on our part causes all these environmental issues, right? So rain has become irregular. There's places that are experiencing drought that should not have drought. And there's places that are experiencing floods that should not have floods, right? And stuff. So this natural balance has become disturbed. Yes. So nature itself is just reacting to our human society, moving away from this responsibility, this dharma, this duty that we have. Right? And Margie, this year is thinking we have a responsibility to take care of our nature. And when we act in that irresponsible way, these reactions are definitely really, and this is advocated by these that we're experiencing. So these three things are intensified as we see the three modes of material nature intensify. So these these all are going to increase, right, the miseries and stuff as these modes of material nature rise from, or I guess decline from sattva good into rajas, passion, into tamas, into ignorance. The more we get into ignorance, the more these things are going to cause more miseries and stuff. Because in sattva good, what do we have? We have clarity, we have peace, we have knowledge, we are aligned. In rajas, we started having this endless desire that we want, this competition, so much competition in school. Like I just went to my son's graduation and stuff, and amazing individuals and stuff. But at the same time, there's so much competition. I always tell my son, I should apply today from the same school, which you graduated from the same school. Like, I would not get in. So, I would not get in. So, anyhow, competition increases, this restlessness, anxiety increases, and ignorance, very violent, this disillusion, so strong, right? We talk about Maya being strong, we haven't seen her full strength yet. So, and this is, as this tamas, this ignorance will continue to increase, and the imbalance of these other, start to decrease, these miseries are going to get worse and worse in the future. So Bhagavad Gita 14:5 tells us Sattvam, Rajas, Pramati. So these three gunas are the ones that bind the living entity right to this material world. And in Yudhishthira's time, right, throughout his life, we saw that sattva was predominant. This mode of goodness is predominant. And therefore, because they were so used to having all this goodness, even the slightest amount of disturbance, it becomes very noticeable, right? You have that beautiful white garment, and there's that one little red dot on it, right? You're like, no. So that's how it was. So even the slightest little disturbance becomes very noticeable. But as Krishna is now preparing to leave this world, and Rajas and Tamas increases and begins to rise, these threefold miseries are increasing, it's harder for us to these disturbances become what we feel is normal, unfortunately. Instead of understanding what goodness is, these disturbances just become, like our clock is red now, right? It's not why you're gonna die. So we don't even notice these things, unfortunately. And that is our disillusion. And that, unfortunately, comes from one major source, and that is our forgetfulness. As Krishna leaves, we begin to forget. In Bhagavad Gita 7:14, it says, Devi Esha Pranamai Mahamaya Bharat. This divine energy of mind consists of the three modes of material nature. It's difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me, it's possible. This is what we have to hold on to. So as long as we're under this Buddha, which we are, working in this material world, we will experience but those who surrender unto Krishna, to the Lord, to God, are crossed beyond it. Right? So we have two choices. Right? We have either we remember Krishna or we forget Krishna. So there was another interesting analogy or pastime that we had mentioned in this lecture that during the time of Lord Ram, Bharat did not actually want to stay in Ayodhya without Lord Ram because he felt like a dead person. He felt like a dead person. You know, without Lord Ram, what is the point? Right? So without Krishna, what is the point? So he felt like he was like a dead person. And how can a dead person rule a kingdom or expect to take up responsibilities? You know, so he couldn't do that without the presence of Lord Ram. And it was like, he was describing it as only a fool would cut down the root of a tree, right? And then try to water the leaves to make it live. Like, you know, that's so foolish, right? So only a fool will remove all, you know, or like, for example, in a pond, they will remove all the water and expect the fish to survive. Like, maybe you put some water on the fish, will it survive? No. So basically, he was trying to describe that life without the Lord, you know, in the life without the Lord's presence in our lives, right? Just like dead people. There's no point, right? Drinking the water, there's no point, and stuff like that. So how to make our lives peaceful, full of happiness, and protect us from these three modes of material nature and this misery, unbind the chains that we're under, and stuff. That comes from this practical process from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14. Mancha yo vyavicharane bhakti yogina se. One who engages in pure devotional service transcends these. So we know the illness, the diseases, we also get the medicine. Right? In Bhagavad Gita. And how do we do that? As we have said time and time again, chant. Chant the holy names, chant Hare Krishna mantra every day, and you will see how these gunas cannot affect you. You will see your mindset change, you will see your body change, you will see these miseries unable to touch you. Right? You hear Krishna Bhagavatam. We are hearing this pastime of Maharaj Yudhishthira to help us understand how we can overcome these three modes of miseries. Right? And so by his example, we can see how to live our lives. So hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, understanding these great personalities, we can understand how to live our lives. Association with devotees. This is extremely difficult. If we do not associate with devotees, just like a spark that flies away from the fire, will lose all its heat, right? Or burning, right? So we have to stay close to the fire. Association with devotees, right? Because we cannot do it alone. It's too hard. Maya, with her three modes of intuition, are too strong. We cannot do this alone. We have to take association. We want to surpass it. Living in regulated, disciplined, stock. This is also very important. If you expect to overcome this mode of ignorance, this mode of passion, doing these four things, the ABCDs, and also changing career and such living a regulated life, gradually these threefold mysteries will dissipate. And your consciousness will actually elevate beyond these things. So, let us just become aware. Know that these three things exist. What are those? Right? These three mysteries are existing in life. Let us become aware of them. Let us be aware of the modes of influence in our lives. And let us come to Krishna consciousness so that we do not experience disturbances. Okay. And these are not just external disturbances, they're disturbances, but if you understand the spiritual root cause of these disturbances, then we can take shelter and actually take shelter, surrender to